everyone, and welcome to the March 2017 update of the Power BI desktop. We have some very exciting features to show you today, so let's just get started. Let's get started by looking at the report view features. So the first feature I want to talk about is a preview of a new matrix visual. We've hinted at this a little while now, but we've been working on some very exciting new updates to our matrix, and with this release we're going to preview them as a separate matrix visual. The reason we're doing this versus just updating in place our current matrix is that we want you to be able to try out these new features without having to worry about any of these new features affecting any of your production reports. So during this preview stage, you'll be able to, if you want, use the new matrix, but you can continue to use the older matrix and use those in your production reports. This new matrix visual has several exciting features, the first of which is some performance improvements. So if you want to show a lot of data within your matrix visual, you'll be able to see that this new matrix performs better than the older matrix. This new matrix also has the ability to drill down into different levels of your hierarchy. This is similar to the experience you'll see within charts whenever you have multiple categories on an axis and you're able to drill down into the individual categories. You'll be able to do something similar on the matrix visual. So no longer do you have to show all levels of your hierarchy all at once. We also have a stepped layout appearance for the different levels of your hierarchy, so it will look more similar to how the different levels can look within a pivot table in Excel. The last very exciting feature is that you can now also cross-highlight from the matrix. So you'll be able to click on an individual cell or any of the headers to be able to cross-highlight all the other charts on your report. So let me show you all those exciting features in action. So I'm going to start by creating a matrix with the current default matrix experience. So I'm going to create a matrix real quick, and I'm going to put category and subcategory on the row headers, and I'm going to put class and color on the column headers, and I'm going to show sales amount. So this is the default matrix that you all know, and now I'm going to just copy that, and for comparison's sake, just convert it over to the new matrix, which once you've turned the preview switch on, you'll be able to see here in the visualizations pane as the last visual on the list, and it's called Matrix Preview. So I'm going to convert over to that, and you'll see right away a very big difference between this new matrix and the old matrix. So this new matrix by default shows all of the headers collapsed. So to start with, you only see the top level row and category headers. From there, you can choose to use these new drill buttons, which already exist for visuals, to move between the different levels of the headers. So I'm going to start with this far left one, which whenever you use this, it just moves between the levels. So first I saw category for my row headers, and now I see subcategories. And then I can, of course, use this button to move back up. I can also use this one to expand down. So whenever I want to expand down, this will show both levels of the hierarchy at once. So you can see here, I can see both category and the associated subcategories for each row header. I can also use this very last button on the far right here to drill down into a very specific row or category header. So I can click this button, and I can click on audio, and now I've moved into the subcategory level, but only for audio. And then I can use this button to move back up as well. So now you have all of the great control you've had in terms of drilling down into different levels that you already had for charts. You can also do all of this through the right-click menu as well. So you can right-click, say, on economy here, and I can choose to either drill down specifically into economy, move to the next level of the hierarchy, so move from class to color, or I can expand down and show both at once. So I'm going to expand down, and then the category headers will expand down. I can, of course, right-click as well to drill back up. So next I want to talk about the stepped layout a little bit. So I'm going to expand down the row headers as well. So you can see here that instead of having each of the row headers take up its own column, we are doing this stepped layout appearance. So this is a great way to save space. You can see that we're showing a lot more data here than we are in the corresponding version in the old matrix. And you can also control some of these features from the formatting pane as well. So go into the formatting pane and open up the row header card. From here you see that we have two options around step layout. So first I can turn it on and off. So this, if you turn it off, it looks just like the old version of the matrix. So if you just want to recreate that appearance but have the ability to drill, you can just turn step layout off and it will look exactly like the old version. If you like the step layout but you just want to adjust the size of the indentation that is between the two levels, you can use this slider here to make it bigger or smaller, whatever looks best for your data. The last feature I want to talk about is cross-highlighting from the matrix. So to show that off, I'm going to first delete this original matrix and create a couple of charts real quick. So I'm going to create a donut chart that shows freight by category. And I'm going to create a column chart that shows me all my subcategories and my sale size on the legend and my units as the value. And now, just like all the other charts where you could choose to pick a category to cross-highlight, you can do that in the matrix as well. So I can choose, say I want to filter down my data to deluxe black Bluetooth headphones. I can click that individual cell and now I'll be able to filter down my charts to that very, very specific point. I can also do that at a header level as well. So if I just want to see all of my deluxe black products, I can highlight that header level and now all my charts update to show just deluxe black products. And so any of the headers or individual cells you can choose to cross highlight on, and all the other charts on your report will update to show that data. So this new matrix, I'm hoping you're able to see, is a lot more powerful than our previous iteration. And we want to make even more updates to this visual, so please give it a try and give us any kind of feedback you have as to what you'd like to see next in this visual. The next feature I want to show you is our preview of a numeric range slicer. In a previous release, we gave you a slicer that lets you filter your data on a range of dates, and now we're expanding that slicer type to work on numeric data as well. So let me show you that in action. Now this new slicer is a preview, so you will have to enable it in the options dialog. But once you have and you create a slicer, you can add a numeric column to it. Now it has to be a column, it can't be a measure yet, but once you add a numeric column, you'll see that the default style is this range slicer. You can, of course, switch it back to the list or drop-down view if you want, but by default it shows as a range slicer. And then you can choose to just filter your data by this range slicer. So like, for example, I can pull down and only see data for products that have freight less than, say, 200 I I can also choose, instead of using this between view, I can switch to less than or equal to a greater than or equal to. So I'm going to choose less than or equal to, since that's what I want to do. Filter my data down to any product that has freight less than 200. Now what this slicer is doing is it's filtering down the individual rows of my table. So you'll notice that all of these freight categories, they all have freight higher than 200. That's because it's taking all the individual rows and seeing if the freight is less than or equal to 200 and only keeping them if it is. And then this chart, of course, is then aggregating all of the individual rows with freight less than 200 to create the chart. So if you ever need to filter down your data based on a numeric value, this is a great feature to let you do that. The next feature is an update to the data labels on pie and donut charts. We're expanding what can show on the data labels to include percent as well. So let me show you this feature. So by default, all of the data labels on a pie chart are a category, and in the formatting pane, you could choose to change that. Previously, you've only been able to add the number value to the data label as well, but now we've expanded so that you can choose to add the percent of the total as well. So you can choose any one of those values, so I can choose just to show percent if I wanted to, or any combination of those three options. So I can choose to show category and the percent of the total on my donut chart. And this works exactly the same way for pie charts. So this will let you have just a little bit more customization on your what shows for your pies and your donut charts. The next feature I'm going to show is cross-highlighting using multiple series. Let me show you that in action so you can see exactly what I mean. So let me start with this column chart here. Say that I wanted to show the rest of my visuals filtered, cross-highlighted by my top three subcategories by sales size. So the top one is computer accessories, small. And it looks like the next biggest one is home theaters, large. And then laptops, large. So I'm cross-highlighting not only within a single column, but also within the different subcategories broken down here by sales size. So I'm able to cross-highlight by control-clicking any of the values within my chart and filter the rest of the data on my report. This lets you get really refined on what data you're wanting to filter the rest of the charts by. The next feature I want to show is an expansion of our text box. You can now select text in your text box and change the font color of it. So let's say I first drag this a little lower and I add a text box. Of course, as always, I can type whatever I want in here. So Power BI Desktop March 2017 release. And now I can select any of the text I want. So specifically, let's say March 2017. And I can use this drop down here to select whatever color I want. So I'm going to make this purple because it's my favorite color. It's a little hard to see because the text is small, so I'm going to make the text bigger and center it and bold it. And now you can see really easily that I changed the color. So you can choose any of our palette we give you, or pick a custom color just like you can for any of the categories within the charts. And this is really useful if you have a report with a dark background and the black text wasn't showing up. You'll now be able to do things like make the text color a really light color, and it will show up really well on a dark themed report. Speaking of theming, the last feature I'm going to talk about within the report view section is one that I'm personally very excited about. It's our first preview of report theming. So in this very first preview of the feature, what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to create a JSON file that defines what colors you want us to use for all of the charts in your report. So let me start by showing you that JSON file. This JSON file has a couple of different pieces to it. The first is a name, so you can give your theme a name. The next section is data colors. This is all the different colors that you want us to use based off of a hex code within your charts. So we'll use them in the order you give us, and you can give us as few or as many as you want. And after we run out of colors that you give us, we will start auto-generating more colors based off of the colors you have given us. The next three sections, background, foreground, and table accent, are used by our matrix and tables and the various different styles we give you. So in the formatting pane, you're able to pick a table style or a matrix style. Depending on which one of those you picked, these three colors will be applied to different parts of your table or matrix. So let me now take this file that I have and apply it to my desktop file. So I've already enabled theming in the options dialog, and now I'll go and I'll pick to import the theme. And I'll pick that theme file, which was waveform, and I'll apply it. And it immediately will apply to all of my charts that don't already have a color defined. So if you go into the formatting pane now, you'll be able to see that these are the theme colors that would apply in order, and the color palette is updated so that I can pick any of the colors I defined in my palette and any of the lighter or darker versions of those colors. I can also take this matrix and I can choose to apply a matrix style to it so that I can start seeing the theme colors applied to that as well. One thing to note that during this preview is if you have any data points in your report that you've already specified a specific color you want to use, using either let me show you here, using either the theme colors or a custom color, we will not override that when you apply the theme. So these will only affect charts that just have the default colors applied to them. You can also choose to use these colors in the color palette for your text box as well. So I had originally applied purple, but let's say I wanted to have it match my actual theme. I can go in and choose this kind of darker shade of purple that matches my theme better. And now my whole report is themed the way I want. So as I mentioned, this is a preview. We will be continuing to update both what you can theme and the way that you can choose to theme. So right now we're using a JSON file, and you'll always be able to use a JSON file to define your theme, but we will also be expanding it in future updates to allow you to create a theme within the product itself using a nice UI. So be sure to start trying out this preview theme. We have a couple of example themes that you can choose to use as well, or use as a getting started point for your own. And let us know what you think and what you'd like to see us add next to the preview. The next section I want to talk about is analytics, and the update in the analytics section of our product for this release is that we've now taken clustering out of preview. So now everyone can take advantage of this great feature. And just to remind everyone what clustering is, I'm going to put together a really quick example. So I'm going to create a scatter chart here. And I'm going to add the average purchase again and the average satisfaction score to this chart, and I'm going to show that for every product in my report. And now from this drop down, I can choose to automatically find some clusters. From here, I can choose to just let the algorithm auto-generate the number of clusters that make sense, or I can define a very specific number I want to see, such as I want to see 5 clusters here. Hit OK, and then the clustering algorithm will run and immediately apply all those clusters to my charts. It makes a field in the field list, so I can now reuse those clusters in other places, and I can also go in and edit the clusters as well. I can change the number that I want it to see, and it will rerun the algorithm. I can rename the field, give it a description, see how many items are in each cluster, things like that. So this feature is a really great way to find different groupings within your data and further your analysis. The next section is data connectivity. So we have 2 updates to some Azure connectors. The first is that we're releasing a new connector for Azure Analysis Services, and the second is that our Azure Data Lake Store connector is now generally available. So let me show you both of those. Under Get Data, in the Azure section, you'll be able to see the beta release for Azure Analysis Services database. This lets you connect to your Analysis Services instances running in Azure. You'll also see the Azure Data Lake Store option here. It no longer has the beta tag because it's now GA. The next feature is around our DB2 connector. We now give you the option to specify the package collection to connect to within a given DB2 server. So let me show you that. If I go under Database and select my IBM DB2 database, under Advanced Options, I'll now be able to specify the package collection here. This can only be used with the Microsoft IBM DB2 driver. So the last feature in the data connectivity section that I want to talk about is another incremental update to the combined binaries experience. You now can select which file from a folder should be used as the sample file. So let me just show you that real quick. I'm going to go Get Data, pull from a folder. For this example, I'm just going to connect, let's say, to my Documents folder, hit OK. And I'm going to combine and edit. And now in here, you'll see I have this option called Example File, and we pick one file to be the default, but you can go in here, and now you can pick which of these files you want to be the sample file to select objects and specify any custom transformation steps if needed. So this is just another incremental update that, as we've been doing for the combined binaries experience. The last feature I'm going to talk about today is a query editing improvement. We've updated the split column by delimiter experience to automatically detect what delimiter we think you should use. So let me show you that. I'm going to open up my query editor, and for this example I'm going to pick order date, and I'm going to split that by delimiter. You notice in this dialog we've automatically filled in the slash that we think you should use to split this column, but of course you can choose to go in and edit it to be whatever delimiter you want to use. So we hope with this small update we'll be able to save you a few clicks every time you need to split a column. So that's all the features we have for the March update of the Power BI desktop. We are very excited about this release. We have several exciting preview features. Please try them all out and let us know what you think, and give us any feedback around what you'd like to see in the next iteration of those previews. Thank you very much for your time.